All right. God, this is going to be so hard because it's hard to talk.
Why is it hard to talk?
I'm sick.
Oh, you're fine.
I keep catching my throat like it hurts on occasion.
Oh,
Anyway. All right, Melissa. You're walk
yeah.
you're walking along a road, the sun high in the sky beating down on you. Your eyes are set on the packed dirt before you. You're placing one foot after the other, just walking. You begin to notice grass creeping into the road, slowly taking it over. You look around and see large, emerald green trees. Their branches begin reaching out overhead, blotting out most of the sun. You begin to hear the rustling of leaves as the foliage grows beside you. Vines begin winding themselves up and around the trees, through the bushes, and snaking over the road. The underbrush and forest grow denser, closing in around you. You hear the sound of snapping twigs and branches accompanying faint whispers. You start moving faster as if you're running along the road. The vines begin to reach out to you, cautiously at first, as if they're trying to touch you. The trees around you begin to groan and creak. The sound fills your ears, it surrounds you. The vines begin to lash out, grasping for your limbs. You continue running until you break into a small clearing. You stumble forward and begin turning in circles, looking around. The shadows of the forest begin to grow deeper. The sun is no longer in the sky. Your vision begins to blur and shake. You blink a few times before realizing that the forest around you is coming to life. It's vibrating with energy. It's moving. It's closing in. You try to move, to break into the tree line, but you find your legs held fast. Vines have wrapped themselves around them. They slither up your body as the bushes shift closer and as the trees bend down toward you. The vines pull you to the ground. No matter how hard you struggle, you can't break free. You scream out, but you find you have no voice. You feel the branches of the trees and bushes clawing and pulling at you as the darkness of the forest swallows you. You wake up, laying on the ground next to a tree, gazing up into the canopy of the jungle trees above you. You can just barely make out the shining of the moon and some of the twinkling stars. You realize you just had another vision. The world around you is quiet. You can hear some bugs buzzing and chirping, the occasional rustle as the winds blow through the bushes and the tree branches. And then suddenly, you hear the faint sound of music. A little ditty being played off in the distance.
I think I'm gonna go to that ditty.
You want to go investigate it?
Sure.
All right.
Am I supposed to be saying things and doing things
Yeah,
as you talk?
absolutely.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to let you like go on your monologue for a while.
Yeah, no, the first part was just introducing you to one of the visions that you've had.
Cool. Heck yeah. Let's go. Let's go to the music.
Before we carry on to the music, would you like... Actually, you know what? No, I've got a better idea. I've got a better idea. All right, so you want to go toward the music.
Yeah.
So you begin finding your way through the forest, weaving between trees, branches, foliage and bushes, stepping over vines. Careful to skirt around any woodland creatures that might be around. And as you start growing nearer, you can see a faint light breaking through the trees ahead of you. And the music has grown louder. And you can hear the sound of a lute being played and a flute. You want to get closer?
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. How close do you want to get?
I don't know. I mean, close enough that I can at least see what's going on.
Okay. So you start to get up to the tree line. Now, are you just like busting through, or do you want to like try and be a little stealthy about it?
Yeah, I'm just like peeking around.
All right.
We're not busting in anywhere. That's weird. Like it's a bar mitzvah. I don't wanna. I don't wanna interrupt. You never know.
All right. So you begin to make your way a little bit closer. You start coming up upon the tree line, and you can see through the forest. You can see a caravan
Hey,
stopped
I
for
can
the
see
night.
stuff now.
You can pick out roughly 8 to 12 people around the camp there. You see a few wagons and some horses and some tents, and you can see just beyond the forest, you can see the glow of a fire with some people standing around it.
Oh, is that me?
Yep, that's you.
Cool. What's up?
All right.
I think I'm just gonna watch it for a little bit, see what they're doing.
You're gonna
Try
watch
to
it for a little
eavesdrop.
bit? Okay. Go ahead and make a stealth check for me.
Okay, how do what do?
So you're going to want to roll a d20.
Okay, which one is that? This one?
Yeah, that one there.
Cool.
And then you're going to add your stealth skill to it, which should be under your skills.
Ah, my dexterity modifier. 0. 13.
All right, so you have nothing in stealth. Good.
Woo!
All right, so 13.
It's fine.
All right.
Just bad.
So you sidle on up into the forest. Get in the bush. Are you in the bush?
You put me in the bush, I think.
You are on top of the bush.
Oh, that's a little different.
You know what? I'm gonna move the bush forward a little bit and just put you right there behind the bush. Perfect.
I realized it would be good to probably like write down what my modifiers are for all these things.
Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
It's fine. I got it. We're done. Perfect.
All right, and you said you wanted to eavesdrop, so go ahead and roll a perception check for me.
Okay. So is that on this D20 again?
Yep.
And then I add my perception.
Yes, ma'am.
22.
Ooh, very good. All right.
Heck yeah.
So you quietly crawl up into the bush, just trying to peek through to see what these people are doing, what might be going on. And as you look through, you can see there's 3 guards. You can just barely make out most of them. You see them kind of wandering around the camp. This one over here, he's harder to see because he's behind the tent over there. You see a bunch of tiny people and
Tiny people?
yeah, and kind of big people. And you can just make out that there's a few halflings standing around the fire.
Ah, are they tiny because they're halflings, or
Yes.
are they children?
They're tiny
Okay.
because they're halflings.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're a good bit a ways away. You're like, I think 100
I
feet,
gotcha.
something like that. But yeah, so you can see that this guy here and this guy here are the 2 playing the instruments.
Okay.
This one here, ignore the names; they're not appropriate. Just so you know, I'll change them
What?
later. If you mouse
okay.
over the people, there are names on them, but they're not appropriate. So I'll just change them later.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. But you can see this guy; he is playing the lute, and this guy is playing the flute that you heard.
Okay.
And these 2 are dancing around the fire.
Same.
They're enjoying the music. They're dancing around the fire, listening to the sweet melodies that these 2 very skilled musicians are spinning together. And
Okay.
you see this woman tending to a fire pot on the fire.
Okay.
This gentleman over here, he is tending to the horses. He's going between them all, making sure that they get some food and some water. And you can see as the guards continue to make their rounds around the camp as well, just making sure everything is good and clear. And then this guy over here has been walking has been walking around the clearing, picking up kindling.
Okay.
Still just want to watch him?
Yeah, let's watch them some more.
Okay.
I like to eavesdrop. I like to watch.
So you spend probably a good, 20, 30 minutes in total watching them. You can hear these 2 teasing each other and laughing and joking with each other, and the whole group around here is just singing along with to the song with each other. You see one of the horses snot in this guy's face once or twice
Hot.
as he's trying to feed it. The guards here, you see two dwarves, the two dwarves and the human over there as they make their rounds and just kind of circle the camp a few times. You can see that they're pretty alert, but you know they're pretty relaxed at the same time. Like they're aware, they're looking around, but they're not like on guard in any way, shape, or form.
Do I know anything about these guards? Can I tell where they're from?
Make
Perhaps.
a. I'm trying to think of what the check would be. I guess make an intelligence check.
Okay. Ooh. 9.
9. It's really hard to make out from this distance. You can't quite see if they've got anything emblazoned on their armor, and you can kind of tell that they're relatively lightly armored. Like they're not like heavy set armored guys. They're just they've got some chainmail on, some leather armor, and just some standard weapons. But otherwise, you can't make out any more details from them.
I wonder if we get along.
You wonder if you'd get along?
So why don't I walk delicately through this forest and gather some kindling?
You want to gather some kindling?
Yes.
Okay. Where would you like to go? Which direction?
Delicately not toward them.
So like around the left side here?
Yeah, let's just like stay in the trees and not like go where they can see me though.
Of course, yeah. No, I'm not going to have you like jump out into the clearing and...
Just saying.
Do you want to continue trying to be quiet, or do you...
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to have you make another stealth check.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Because now you're moving through the forest. You're leaving your bush.
8.
8. Oh, gosh.
Oh, I'm not stealthy.
All right. Let me find the guard stats real quick.
Yike.
All right. All right. So you begin making your way through the forest, and you start to try and search for some kindling. And I'm not even going to bother making you roll for that. I'm going to say, kindling's pretty easy for you to find. There's sticks, there's branches, there's undergrowth. You're getting yourself a handful. You're, making an armful, enough to make a decent fire if you'd like.
Okay.
What do you want to do with the kindling?
I'm gonna make my way over to what's his name over here.
You're going to make your way over to this dude here?
What's his name? Yeah, but obviously like not going this way.
Not a beeline. You're going to continue moving
Not a
through the
beeline. We're gonna meander over and let him know. We noticed he was looking for some kindling. We found some around.
Okay.
We can ask him if he wants. We can talk.
All right.
It'll be good.
So you make it to about here,
Good.
and you see the guy move over to this bush, and he bends over, and he starts to bend over to pick stuff up. And as he bends over to pick up some kindling, you see him pick it up in his hands, and he starts to put it in his arm, and it looks like a larger branch than what he expected to pick up. And so he tries to pick it up, and you can still see it's kind of like sticking into the bush. And then make a perception check.
Okay.
Yeah, make another one for me.
Okay, 9.
All right. You hear him scream, and as he screams, he drops the stick. And he starts to kind of like fumble backwards, like as if something startled him. And as he does, he falls backwards onto his butt. And this guard over here hears him and turns in his direction. And all of a sudden you see him start to scoot forward, closer to the bush. And he's screaming and he's yelling, and he says, "There's something in the bush. I need help. There's something in the bush." And so the guard over here, curious what's going on, starts to move closer. And he's screaming, "What are you yabbering about? What's going on over there? Quit with your tricks." And... What?
I said, yep.
You want to do anything yet?
Maybe I'll out curiously. Like I've been hearing this guy screaming.
Okay, so you'll kind of come to the the edge, like...
Come out a little bit curiously.
Like right
Maybe
over
people
here.
can see me now. Like, we're okay.
Like you're on the edge of the thing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as this guy starts getting closer to Halric over here, he sees you out of the corner of his eye and turns to you. And he screams, "There's someone in the forest!" And he pulls up his crossbow to aim at you. Meanwhile, Halric over here is still screaming, and he's begging for help. He's saying to the guard, "Don't worry about them. Something's got me. Help me. I'm being pulled." And you see him slowly get pulled further into the bush.
All right, well...
He's now about, like, up to the waist in the bush.
That sucks.
And now the other guards
I'm gonna yell, "He needs help." Pull out my scimitar and run my little butt over.
All right, so as you make your way over there, yelling that he needs help, I want you to make a persuasion check.
Okay. Uh, 22.
What's your persuasion at?
My persuasion's at +3.
And you rolled a 19. All right. The guard, caught off guard because this guy is just like suddenly screaming that something's got him, and then this mysterious elf just appears out of the forest and starts running toward him, screaming, "He needs help! He needs help!" He makes a judgment call and trusts to believe that you're not here to attack them or do anything, at least yet, and follows your lead and heads over and grabs this guy. And you come over as well. This guard makes it over. This guard makes it to about here. These people start to become aware that something's going on, and they're trying to figure out, you know, what it is that's happening. The music has stopped at this point. And you hear this guy yell out, "What's going on over there? Is everything okay?" And what do you want to do to this?
I'm gonna swing at whatever's in the bush.
You're just gonna hack into the bush. The guy's like halfway dragged in the bush, and you're just gonna start hacking.
Well, the other guy's pulling him out. So I'm assuming at this point he's more pulled out.
Well, let's see.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he's not. I don't know.
11. This guy has a firm grasp on him, but he's not being pulled any further out. So.
All right. Well, then I
guy,
guess I'm gonna grab him.
You're gonna grab him too?
Sure.
All right. And this,
we're gonna pull mighty hard.
This guy's gonna help out with that as well.
Good.
All right. So I want you to make a strength check.
16.
All right. So you and the dwarf, this stout dwarf, this big masculine beard, reach out, and he grabs him under the arms, and then you reach out and you grab him by his right arm there. Meanwhile, this guy attempts to grab him by the arm and trips over a vine that's on the ground.
Okay.
And he falls to his knees. So you and the dwarf... This guy needs to not be locked. You and the dwarf manage to pull this guy away from the bush some. And you notice that wrapped around his legs are some vines.
Well, I'm gonna take my scimitar to those vines.
Okay. So you pull this guy out, and you walk around to where the vines are, and you pull out your sword. And
Yep.
I want you to roll an attack.
So that would be, I would roll. Okay, so I roll this d20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
What?
So, and I add my attack bonus, right?
Yes.
4.
So you walk up to these vines that are now protruding from the bush, and they're sticking out. They're wrapped around his legs. They're writhing and trying to tug at him and pull him back in. And you walk around and you bring up your scimitar to hack down on it. And as soon as you bring it down, the vine bends itself away from where your sword is going to hit.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. It like as if it could see your sword coming down at it. It moves.
Yikes.
And at this point, I would like you to roll initiative.
Okay, how do I do that?
So you're going to roll a d20,
Okay.
and you are going to add your dexterity modifier to it.
So 0. I got a 2.
You got a 2. All right, is that a 9 or a 6?
These couldn't be a different shade of green.
Yeah, I realize that.
Can you even see them?
Yes, I can.
I can barely see them. How can you see them?
Sometimes color deficiency works in my favor.
If I zoom in super close, I can see them.
Yeah, they're super tiny. I'm just going to do that so that way it's easier to see them. But understand that they are green.
I figured they were green. There's one here. Nope, he's white now.
Okay. So, as you swung down to hit the vine, you notice that it's not connected to the bush, but it's connected to something hiding in the bush. And you can just vaguely make out this humanoid-looking figure. And as you do that, you hear some branches snapping and some leaves rustling. And you look off to your left and your right, and you see 2 more grotesque-looking humanoid figures, almost like scarecrows.
Okay.
They look like someone took a bunch of like twigs and bushes and branches and stuff and made it into a human, like an effigy of some kind.
Okay.
So, the first person that's up, I should probably roll for Harik, shouldn't I? He's kind of stuck here.
For what? Oh. Excuse me, there's an L in his name.
Halric? Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever. His name's Harik. His name's Harik now. Shush.
Okay.
Alright. So this guard is... Now I gotta do everything kind of grid-based. This guard is going to come over to this side of the Vine Blight, which is what this is called. It is a Vine Blight.
Yep, I can see that.
And he is going to... This is going to be difficult, I just realized. Where's my D8? 5, 6, 7, 8. 10, 18. So he's going to attack the Vine Blight here.
Okay.
All right. So he hefts up his. Does he have the great axe? No. He's got the crossbow. Oh, well, he's going to stay here then. I thought he was this dude with the. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, it is this dude. He's going to walk over here. He's going to lift up his warhammer, and he's going to try and bring it down on top of the figure right here. 11. Eight, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right. So he hits, and he rolls. It's a 7. So he does. So he does 8 damage to this thing. He rolls up with his hammer, swings it up high, and just brings it right down on top of its vines, crushing them, basically severing the vines that were holding on to Halrick's legs here.
Cool.
All right. And the Vine Blight, in retaliation, is going to. He's gonna reach back out to try and. He's gonna reach out to try and grab the warhammer out of the dwarf's hands. He's just gonna try and entangle it and constrict him.
What are the turns looking like here?
So it goes in
What's the order?
Highest is first. So it was guard 2, then this guy. Gosh darn it. This guy, then this guy. Then it's going to be...
so then I can't do anything.
Not yet.
Okay.
You will, though. I got to work my way down and...
Okay. You just paused for a really long time, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah, unfortunately, with a 2, you go last.
Fair. That's okay.
I just have to read the... Okay, melee weapon attack. That is... Jeez. Alright, so that hits. And it's going to be 2d6. 6. 8, so 16. Yikes.
How many damage does he take?
He takes 16.
Wow, if I get hit one time, I will be dead.
The Vine Blight rolled a critical strike. It doubles the damage. Alright, so this guy is currently grappling the dwarf here. And now guard 3, who fell over, is going to stand up. Completely oblivious to the other 2 guys around him, he's going to attack the Vine Blight. Whoop. And so guard number 3 there gets to his feet. He brings up his sword and attempts to slice down, and as he's slicing down, he loses his footing again and drops to a knee and completely whiffs the attack.
Wow! Good job!
This guy is a great guard, I shall have
Let
you
him
know.
be a guard.
So this guy is going to walk up next to you.
That sucks.
Yeah. And he is going to try and claw you. Does a 6 hit?
How do I know that? How am I supposed to know that?
Your armor class.
Oh, I have 13. I don't
Ah,
know what that means.
it does not hit. So, in order for something to hit, it has to meet or exceed your armor class.
Gotcha. Okay, then no, it does not hit.
All right. So, you see out of the corner of your eye this weird, like, halfling height-shaped twig monstrosity waddle up to you and try to reach out and claw you. And it kind of, like, glances off your armor. It just sounds like wood scraping against leather. And you're just like, what is this thing? Like, why is this random little twig blight thing? That's what it's called. This little twig monstrosity reaching out and attacking you. So that's that one. Then we have Twig Blight 3. 10. He's going to move up there. And then this guy is going to attack the first guard here. What is that? That is also a 6. I realize that the elven die that I have is very difficult to make heads or tails of.
Yike.
And it misses. So you see, or you might see, I don't know if you see, but the needle blight here does this motion. He extends his arm like this.
I cannot see you.
You can't see me?
No.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that Tabletop Simulator is up over top. So it extends its arm and twists its wrist at the same time. And as it does, out of its palm shoots a needle. And it just...
Oh, gross.
It just flies wide by the guard here with his crossbow. Halric here is going to turn tail and run.
Thanks, Ulrich.
Because he is just... a simple commoner with no weapons. He was literally gathering... He has no weapons. What's he going to do? He's going to go find a weapon.
Sure. Okay, he can do that.
That's what he's doing.
That's allowed.
So, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So it goes up next to the horse here. And he starts... scrounging through one of the saddlebags that's on it and pulls out a club.
Ah, good job.
But unfortunately, that is all he can do.
You'd think like these guys would start arming themselves. You know. Just a thought.
I mean, yeah, you know, they probably would. But then I'd have to roll initiative for them, and then that's so many people to roll for. I'm getting there.
So they'll just die when they get attacked.
No, I'm getting there.
I'm teasing.
And so now it is guard number 1's turn. Having just been attacked by the needle blight, he's going to turn to it and aim his crossbow. And where'd the thing go? Gosh darn it. Google Docs sucks. Alright, so he hits. And he rolls 3. He does 3 damage to the thing.
Good. Which thing did he attack? This one?
Yeah. So that's...
Good. So now it's my turn?
8. He is now down to 8. Yes, so now it is your turn.
Alright, I'm gonna attack this twig. Twig blight.
Alright.
With my scimitar.
Alright.
I hope I don't fail!
Roll to attack.
Are you... I rolled a... I have my... it's 6.
Unfortunately, that does not hit.
Ah! This is so annoying. This D6 hates me.
So, So you turn to face this like little miniature scarecrow looking thing that decided to come up and like try and tickle you with his branches. And you rear back and you try to slice in sideways with your scimitar, and you just whiff right over its head. It was a little bit shorter than you expected. You just kind of like ruffled the branches on its head.
Good.
Good job.
Proud of myself.
So the women here, after the first round, which was a surprise round because these guys
We're
kind
surprised.
of startled everyone. The women are going to run to retreat into one of the tents here.
Lamos.
Um, so this is going to suck because now I'm going to have so many people to roll for, and it's annoying.
Yep.
So much to keep track of. Okay. So let's see. Oop, there goes my die. It is a 12. So that's 15. All right, so he will go. And for the sake of my sanity, these two guys are going to defend the women.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah, you know, it's
Okay.
fine. Yeah, you know, just leave the women and, you know, younglings behind. There's no younglings.
It's
What am I talking
fine.
about?
It's fine.
Yeah, sure it is. All right, so guard number 2 here, who goes first, is going to attempt to break the grapple. He succeeds. So you see the dwarf here. He starts yelling and cursing at these vines, and he heaves really hard and rips his warhammer out from the grasp of the vine blight. And he's going to make an attack against it. And he hits.
Yay!
These guys are rolling very well.
Except for that one guard who just fails.
Yeah, except for guard number 3, who sucks.
Let him be a guard. We should report him after this.
What is it? A D6? Yeah, it's a D6. 4, 5. So he does 5 damage to this thing. So ripping his warhammer out of the viney grip of the vine blight, he brings it. He rears back and just brings it right up to the side of its torso, and you hear the sound of like blunt metal smacking into a tree. Is basically what it sounds like. It's just a whack.
Okay.
The vine blight here is going to attempt to attack him again. Let's hope he doesn't roll a natural 20. That is a 17. That hits. Yikes. All right. So after the guard smacks it in the side with his warhammer, and the sound of metal against basically wood reverberates, the vine blight lashes out again with its vines. One of them wraps around his neck and squeezes and constricts, and you see him pick him up, and the dwarf's body just kind of goes limp, and he drops his warhammer on the ground.
Good.
I really wish I could like rotate them to lay on their back, but
Is he dead or just chilling?
he is down. He is unconscious. He has just had the life strangled out of him.
Good.
Yeah. So now it is this dude's turn, Core, so he's going to move 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. He's going to move here. And he is going to, let's see, that's 60. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Seeing his guard friend get picked up and strangled to death, he is going to cast something called Vicious Mockery.
Yeah.
Which I gotta find it to make sure that it, whether it automatically hits or not. Because my character sheet doesn't tell me.
Woo!
See, this would be so much easier if I had, like, everything out in front of me. Alright. Good, good. So, seeing his friend get picked up and strangled to death, he just starts unleashing a tirade of curses and insults and all sorts of profanities toward the weird viney creature that just strangled his friend. And he deals 1 damage.
Oh, good.
He dealt 1 damage to him.
I'm so proud.
Guard number 3 here is going to attack the same Vine Blight. Oh, he actually rolled well for once and hits it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, guard number 3 is not entirely useless. Would you look at that?
I'm proud.
And he actually... So, this guard... finally being, like, composing himself after, like, falling all over himself and tripping on things. He finally stands up, sees that this dwarven companion of his is just being manhandled by this beast. He lunges forward with his sword and stabs the Vine Blight, like, right in the chest, rips it out, brings it up, back and around, and cuts the vines. And as he does so, it causes the Vine Blight to drop the dwarf to the ground. And the Vine Blight starts to shrivel up and decay, and in a matter of seconds, it just turns to ash.
Heck yeah.
So that guy is gone.
I've done nothing.
It's alright, we'll get there.
We'll get there. It's fine. Go guard 3.
15, 20. 10, 15, 20. Because that was 2 and 3, right?
Huh?
I'm just trying to keep track of all the different characters that I have. Alright, so the Needle Blight is going to try and attack the guard again. So the Needle Blight takes 1 step out from the forest cover and extends his arm again, and as he extends his arm, he loses his footing on a pebble. and you see this very, like, awkward looking, again, scarecrow manifestation of, like, thorns twisted together forming a human being. Just kind of, like, awkwardly, like, stiffly walk out and then kind of like lose its footing as its arm extends, and so it again shoots the needle off into the trees.
Good job, Needle Blight. Good job.
It's doing good. It's doing good. Halric here, seeing the needle blight step out of the forest, is going to try and move up to attack it. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Yes, cool. So the guy that you were just trying to help, who was just being pulled in and constricted by the bush or the vine blight at that point, goes running up to this needle blight. And 9, 10, 11. Does he hit? He runs up, lifting the club above his head, and just whacks it right over top of the head.
Heck yeah.
And his club splinters.
Oh.
It doesn't appear to have done much. And he just kind of looks at the thing, and then looks at his club, and then looks back at him and goes, well, that's not good.
Woohoo!
Oh, you know
What
what?
about this green guy still out in the trees here?
Yeah, they're coming up. All of these guys are. But I realized I skipped the turn of the Twig Blight right next to you. So he's going to go now. And he's going to try and attack you again. Twig Blight. And he does 4 damage to you.
What did he hit me at?
He rolled a natural 20.
Oh, that sucks. How many damage did he do?
4 total.
Oh, well, that sucks. Okay.
All right. And now it is guard number 1's turn. Yeah, so the Twig Blight, again, reaches out and just kind of, like, scratches your hand with his, like, twiggy claws. Just reaches out and, like...
What do you mean scratches? He diminished half my health.
Yikes.
It's a little more than a scratch.
All right, he mauled your hand. Is that better?
It's fine. I'll just die first game of the campaign.
Yeah,
Whatever.
no, it's cool. You're good. So guard number 1 here is going to is going to try and attack the Needle Blight again. And he completely misses. He takes aim, and right as soon as he's about to fire, Halric comes up and smacks it in the head. And him walking kind of in front of his aim kind of threw him off. He didn't want to hit Halric, so he kind of like aimed off to the side a little bit and it just goes wide. Now it is your turn.
Okay. Let's try this again. I'm gonna try to hit it with my scimitar.
Sure you don't want to use a cantrip or anything?
Sure. Well, how does using a cantrip work?
All right, well, what cantrips do you have?
I have Thunderclap and Produce Flame.
Okay. So you could, I believe, use Thunderclap.
I could also use Produce Flame. They're both usable.
I thought Produce Flame just, like, made a flame. I didn't think you could deal damage with it.
You can attack with it. It just ends the spell when you do.
Oh. I need to go find the Sunder Druid now. Oh, would you look at that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, you could use either one then, whichever one you think would be best.
I mean, how does it work?
So, if you choose to cast it, you basically produce this small, like, little fireball and hurl it at them.
Yeah, like it doesn't take any time to like prepare or anything, I guess.
Nope. It just
Like or
takes.
time to cast or anything.
No, it just takes your action. So you get an attack
And I don't have
action.
to roll anything.
That's what I'm looking at now. You would make a ranged spell attack.
What does that mean?
So if you. So you would roll a d20, and your modifier is wisdom, I think? It's not charisma, right? Your spell modifier?
Yeah, it's wisdom.
Okay. So you would roll a d20 and add
Alright, well I
your.
guess we're gonna do that. $16.
All right. So that would definitely hit. And now what you will do is you will roll 1d8.
Which one is that?
It's this one. Five. And then I believe you add your.
Proficiency and modifier.
Is that what it says?
So, yeah,
All
that would
right.
be 11.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So pissed that this thing just clawed your hand to shreds
Yes, I am.
and that you haven't been able to hit it with your sword, this, your favorite weapon.
My favorite weapon.
I don't know.
Okay, the only weapon I have.
You just seem to enjoy saying the word scimitar, so.
I mean, yeah, it's fun.
So pissed that it just mauled your hand, you kind of give it this look of like, you little. And in your hand, with the snap of a finger, you conjure this small ball of fire. And you just thrust your hand forward into his face with the ball of fire and just burn his face. And as you grab his face, you can see the fire start to like burn through his eyes and up into his hair and his head. And all of a sudden, he just bursts into flames, just like, dry wood just being exposed to a spark, just bursts into flames and gets consumed and turns to ash.
Haha. Bye, friend.
All right. So now I need to roll for. This one here. So twig blight. We just took out twig blight 1. Yeah. No, don't pick up the tree.
Do you want to specify that that's a needle blight too?
That is a good idea. Thank you.
Why did you name... You have it backwards.
Oh, did I?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I gotcha.
What would I do without you? I mean, really, what would I do without you?
Aw, thanks.
As you can see in D&D, combat is what takes the longest.
It's fine, I'll probably be dead by the end of this.
Nah, I don't think you will. All right, so it is guard two's turn, and he is out of the fight because I forgot he is down. So
I thought you said he was unconscious.
Well, he's unconscious. He's out of the fight. Like, there's no waking up from consciousness when you drop to 0 hit points without being healed.
Oh, so when you hit 0 hit points, you're not dead.
Right. It depends on the case. For monsters, generally once you hit 0 hit points, you're dead. Or they are dead. For players, it's once you hit 0 hit points, you start making death saving throws. If you succeed 3 of them, you regain consciousness with 1 hit point. If you fail 3 of them, you die.
Good.
But for the sake of this party, they are all somewhat player character like. So I'm not going to have him do like, yeah, you know what? Might as well have him do a death saving throw. That's going to be more fun. All right, so he succeeds. So now we have Core here. And he is going to... ...60 feet. He is going to expend one of his spell slots to cast Healing Word on the dwarf.
That was nice of him.
Yeah, I don't know why I rolled that, because I didn't need to. It happens. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7. So this dwarf is back up with 7 hit points. He is going to enter back into the fray at 19. There we go. So that's his turn. Guard 3 is going to turn around and run to this guy and attack him. If I could find the right tab. It's 11. Alright, and he hits, so he's going to roll a d6. 3. Alright, so guard number 3 here, having dispatched the Vine Blight, turns around and charges at the Needle Blight there and just slices at him with his sword and arcs right across his chest.
Good.
Right, because that's 2 and 1? No, that's 2 and 3. Sorry, 3 and 5. So 2 goes back here. 20. Oh yeah, and 3. Yeah, no, 3 and 5, and then... I am all sorts of messed up.
Why?
Bear with me.
Oh yeah, because he should have been up there.
Yeah. So this guy...
Why is he down here at 7? Babe? There you go.
Because I'm dumb. And
It's okay.
I can't keep track of things.
I'm going to this math. It's okay.
It's hard to keep track of everything. All right, so this Twig Blight's going to come up here and he's going to attack this commoner. And he hits. Because he don't have no armor.
Dig.
3. Okay, so that was that one that moved. 5 moved. No, like 2 moved. Okay, so this guy is going to now being up close and personal with people, he's going to try and claw the guard that just attacked him,
Okay.
and he misses. After being slashed in the chest, he just kind of like lashes out with his arm and just swats aimlessly and just completely whiffs.
Good.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Howrick is again going to take his club. And he swings it down and hits the construct of needles right in the shoulder, and his club gets stuck. It just like it pierces the needles and just kind of gets stuck on the needles, and so he's sitting there trying to tug it out.
Good.
Yes, he's great. He's a good guy. Guard number 1 here is going to try and attack it again, and he hits. So he shoots and he hits right where the club got stuck in the shoulder, and you see the bolt just kind of go poing and get stuck like right in between the club and the shoulder of the needles.
Good job, guys. I see why you were hired.
Hey, at least he's hitting things. He's not doing much damage, but he's hitting things. And then 2. And 4. Where's 4? Alright, so 2 here is going to try and attack Core. And just waddles on up behind him and just starts like trying to claw at his leather armor at his back and just cannot pierce it. So now it is your turn again.
How far can I move? I mean, I know I can move 35 feet.
So each square is 5 feet. So you can
Okay,
move like 5, 10, 15, or 10, 15. So you can do diagonally or dead ahead.
So say I were to like, how many times can I use a cantrip?
Cantrips you can use as many times as you can cast.
So say I were to like shoot this way, would I totally maul the third guard 3 here?
No, you wouldn't be aiming at him.
Okay, so I could. All right, well then I'm gonna use my pretty flame at this needle blight.
What's the range on that?
30 feet, I think. 30 feet.
All right. Yeah, you can do that. Go ahead and roll to hit.
I rolled the d20, right?
Yes.
15.
All right. Yeah, that'll hit. Go ahead and roll damage.
Plus 11?
Yeah. You see everyone converging on this needle blight, and just
Failing miserably?
you see Halric over here just failing. You see the guard just like not doing much, and you're just like, why would anyone hire these guys if they're so useless?
They are so useful.
And you just nonchalantly extend your arm, very limply, point your finger, and as soon as you point your finger, a little ball of flame just goes poof, and it lands right in the center of its chest. Like a little spark just lands in the center of its chest, and then starts to grow, and then in a flash, it just incinerates the whole thing.
Heck yeah.
Would you like to move? Because you can move as well.
Yes, I would like to. 5, 10, 15, 20. How far can
You can move
other things
diagonally.
move?
Um, you don't quite know, but you get the rough idea is that things can move roughly like 30 feet, give or take.
Gross. I'll go like here. I'll move like there.
You can move your character.
Oh, I can?
Yeah, it's your
We're gonna go
character.
there. So there's no one over here now, correct? Yeah, we're good. We're safe for now. Oh, sorry, tree.
All right, so you moved over there. Alrighty. So starting back at the top of the round, this dwarf guard who was just strangled to death is he gets up from his knees and just kind of like starts rubbing his throat and just looking confused, like what just happened, and sees that you just incinerated this needle blight, and out of the corner of his eye he sees the from the light of the fire the little twig blight coming up behind the halfling. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Coming up from behind the halfling, and you know they're roughly the same size. So he hefts up his warhammer and begins moving that way. 5, 10, 15.
I bet they all feel really good about not attacking me now, huh?
About not attacking you?
Yep.
Yeah, you're lucky. You were very persuasive,
Yes, I was.
because otherwise he was going to shoot you.
Yep, figured.
And he's going to roll to attack this blight. And he misses. So he comes running up, swinging his warhammer, and brings it down just in front of the twig blight as it jumps away, jumps backward just a little bit to get out of the way.
Okay.
Kor is going to turn around here. And he is going to... He's going to cast Vicious Mockery again on this twig blight.
Okay.
Which it fails its save. And he deals 3 damage to it. And I need... This would be very handy to have.
What is that?
Oh, it's not a hollow ring. I was hoping it was a hollow ring. Maybe I can put him on it. Nope, it totally just like falls through him. Alright. Whatever, guy. There we go. That is to mark that it has a disadvantage on its next attack, which means that it has to roll twice and take the lower of the 2 scores.
Ah.
Yeah. So, let's see. What is the range on this? So the needle blight over here is going to take a step forward, and he's going to shoot a needle at Dren, this little commoner dude over here.
Got him.
Yeah, they have names now.
Good.
Actually, which one was it? I think it was her. Right. I can't roll worth anything, apparently.
You know what? It's fine. It happens.
So the twig blight, as he runs up behind this horse, spooks the horse, and the horse rears back and kicks him. and interrupts him from being able to attack,
Good.
and deals 4 damage to him from getting like slapped in the face with a horse hoof. It's
Beautiful.
It's a beautiful sight. It's a beautiful sight indeed. All right, so that was that guy. This is guard 3. Guard 3 is going to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. He's going to surround the twig blight there and going to attack. And coming off of the high of killing one guy and then, in his mind, grievously wounding the other, comes running up to this twig blight, and he just yells, "Hurrah!" as he swings down, and his sword digs into the dirt.
Good.
The twig blight just kind of dances around his sword and jumps out of the way.
These guards are really useless.
Yeah.
I hope they get a pay cut.
So Twig Blight 3 here is going to attack Dren again. And I'm pretty sure that hits. Yeah, that hits. Four. So the Twig Blight, you can see from where you're standing, just kind of like latches onto his leg and starts clawing like the inside of his thigh and the outside, and just like trying to climb and clamber up his body, and he's just clawing at it, shredding it to pieces.
Good. That's gross.
And Drin, whose turn it is actually next, starts screaming for help as he and Alvar are defending the ladies here. And as he's screaming for help, he's going to try and use his short sword to attack the thing on his leg. But it is far too close, and he just like can't seem to like stab it into the Twig Blight at all. So then we have Twig Blight 5. Where's 5? 5, 10, 15, 20. He's gonna move there. And then... Oh, Needle Blight 1 is dead. So he is no longer on there.
Very true.
I forgot about that. Actually, let me also do this real quick. That's so I can keep track of who you've killed. I deleted his character instead of moving it.
I've killed 3 guys?
Well, how many everyone has killed? You've killed...
Oh, I was gonna say.
You've
I thought I
killed
killed
2.
2 of them.
Yeah. Alright, and then... So after Twig Blight 5, it is Halrick's turn, so he's going to... Hearing his friends screaming for help. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Not being able to make it, but he's going to run toward him. And he's going to, because he's here, attack the Twig Blight there. Come on, Halrick, do something useful for once. So Halrick comes running up and dodging through the horses, and he rears back with his club to smack the Twig Blight that's right there. And he comes swinging up wide, just over his head, and again, the Twig Blight just kind of dances out of the way. Very nimble, very quick. It's a little, you know, it's a little twig thing. It's like, they just dodge. They're crazy. I don't know how else to explain it.
I gotcha.
Alright, so guard 1. Guard 1 with his crossbow is going to come...
I believe in you, guard 1.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Also hearing the cries of Dren, seeing the Twig Blight attached to his leg, it's 5, 10, 15, 20, is going to try and attack the one on his leg. 10. and misses. It Dren is dancing around and like shaking his leg and trying to get it off, and he's like tugging at it. And so when he fires, it just the bolt finds itself digging into the log that's sitting there on the ground.
Good.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
It's fine.
So that was guard 1. Next up is Twigblight Floor 4, who is down
Floor.
here. And that was Twigblight 4. So Alvar is going to step over the log here, and he's going to take his dagger and he's going to attack the Twigblight there. He's gonna kind of like go up and try and like stab it in the back while it's on the leg and like try and rip it off of Dren's leg. And he leaps over the log, and as he's running up to grab the Twigblight and try to rip him off his leg, Dren just is still kicking around and kicks him in the face.
Oh my god.
And completely stops him from being able to help. Oh gosh. Where's Twigblight 2? Twigblight 2 is going to again try and attack Core. And misses. As he tries to leap at him and claw at him, the other 3 people who jump at him and try to attack him are causing him to like have to jump around, and keeps him from being able to attack Core properly. Melissa.
Alright, well, I'm going to move myself here.
Okay.
And I'm going to produce flame at this Twigblight.
All right. Roll to hit.
Alright. Plus what?
That is your spell attack, so it would be plus your modifier, your spellcasting modifier, so wisdom, and your proficiency.
My proficiency?
Yeah.
11.
11 on the Twigblight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you come running up, hearing Dren's cries for help,
Crying.
wondering how in the world these people are even alive in this harsh world where bushes come alive and attack you. And you throw your ball of fire at it, and it splashes on the ground and causes sparks to explode into the air, but it does not hit your mark.
Good.
Yikes.
Yep, it's fine. We're all gonna die.
All right, so guard 2 here is going to swing his Warhammer again at the Twigblight, and finally he's going to hit something. And he is just angry. He was just like knocked unconscious and then brought back to life, and he's confused, and he just doesn't understand what's going on. He feels like he's doing a horrible job as a guard. He just brings his Warhammer in an underhand swing and smacks the Twigblight, knocks it up into the air and sends it flying backwards, and just completely, just full of anger, just screams at him, and as soon as the Twigblight hits the ground, it scatters and then dissolves into ash.
Good. Thank God. All right.
That Twigblight had 1 HP, and guard number 2 there just rolled a natural 20 on him.
Wow!
Ouch. And now he's going to move because he sees these other Twigblights. So 5, 10, 15, 20. He's going to move here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Core is going to... He is going to move right up behind him. And hearing the calls for help, he's going to try and Cast Vicious Mockery on this thing.
Fine. Dren can just die. Whatever.
And he hits it
Thank God!
for 1 damage, but he hits it.
After this, I'm warning everyone to invest in armor.
What happened to that thing that I had over here? Did I get rid of it?
What thing?
The,
This?
Whoop. Yeah, that thing. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, I moved it for you.
Oh.
Who do you need it on?
I need it on this Twig Blight. Because he got hit with,
The spell thing.
yeah, he got hit with Vicious Mockery, which gives him disadvantage. Alright, so after Core, it is this guy. He is going to, he's going to try and attack Core, seeing him, hurl insults at the Twig Blight. He's just gonna, like, turn his focus onto him. Because he sees that no one can hit the Twig Blight except for Core, so he's just like, obviously, I'm gonna go after this guy. He
Oh,
seems
yeah,
like the real
obviously.
deal. The dwarf, the bulky dwarf in front of Core is just standing in the way, and so the Needle Blight just can't quite seem to get a good bead, and so when he shoots his needle at it, it just pings off the dwarf's armor.
Good.
So much for dying, am I right?
Yeah. You're consistently rolling low. Which
Yeah.
is good.
This is my luck in general. I always roll low. Always.
You know what? Maybe your luck will change the more we play.
I can hope. Alright, so this guard is going to go, where was he? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. 30. He's going to go here, and he's going to attack the Needle Blight. That's
And hit him?
13, and hit him.
Thank God.
And he's going to do 5 damage. So, yeah. So he just comes charging up, watching as it tries to shoot Core. He comes diving in, spins his sword, and comes in a downward arc and hits him right in, like, where the shoulder meets the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And digs into the thorny vines and cuts some of them away. And you can see the Needle Blight's arm kind of like sag and like almost like separate from the body a little bit as he pulls the blade back. All right, so that was guard 3. Where's Twig Blight 3? Oh, that's this guy. All right, he's going to continue trying to attack Dren. And finally, Dren, with all this crazy dancing and shaking, and then the Twig Blight being hit by the psychic energy from Core, gets shaken off, relents, and lets go of his leg. In case you were wondering. Oh boy. I will probably need that again.
Yeah, I figured.
Alright, so Dren, just pissed that this thing was just hanging off of his leg and not letting go, is going to attack him. And he is going to miss. Like, he's just grievously wounded, his leg is like in tatters, and he's like huffing and like bent over, and he tries to swing at it with a short sword, and as it leaps away and jumps off of his leg, he just misses.
Good.
Yep.
Good job, Dren.
So, Twig Blight 5 here is going to attack guard number 2. And he is going to hit. Where'd my die go? This poor guard. So this Twig Blight, with his newfound prey lumbering up in front of him, leaps at him and claws right at his face and claws him right across the face, leaving these horrible scratch marks down his face. And pulling a little bit of the beard out, too, which the dwarf is not happy about. If there's one thing you've heard about dwarves, it's their pride in their beards. Let's see. So that was number 5. Halric is finally going to run up here. And he is going to attack the Twig Blight. And he is flanking it. So he gets advantage. Which is good because he rolled a 1 the first time, but still bad because he can't hit to save his life.
Good!
So he comes up and he swings with his club and just shatters it on the ground as he misses, and the Twig Blight kind of leaps out of the way. Dear God. All right, where's guard number 1? Guard number 1 is going to move over here, and he is going to try and attack the Needle Blight, getting rid of that ranged. And he hits. He hits and actually kills it.
Thank God!
So he comes running up from the side and peers right around the first guard, or the guard number 3 there, and unleashes the bolt. He looses the bolt from his crossbow, and you see you can see the bolt hit right where the sword wound was, just in the shoulder, and completely like tear off the arm. And as the arm falls to the ground, like while it's in midair, it turns to ash, and the whole Needle Blight's body turns to ash as well.
Heck yeah.
Dear God.
Alright, you can get rid of him now.
Which one was he? He was
Needle Blight 2.
Alright, so that was guard number 1. Now it is Twig Blight 4. He is going to attack guard number 2. And he is going to miss. He's going to do as he saw his twig brother do and try to leap at his face, and as he jumps up, the dwarf just shoves him off with his warhammer and knocks him back.
Good.
And so Alvar is going to attack Twig Blight 3. So Alvar, with his dagger in hand, he literally leaps on to the Twig Blight, like riding it like a rodeo, and drives the dagger into the Twig Blight's neck, and he deals 8 damage, killing it.
Woo!
So he leaps on onto the Twig Blight, riding him as if it were a rodeo, drives it into his neck, and as he shoves the dagger into his neck, he cuts the branches and breaks them, and the head falls off and turns to ash as the body crumples beneath him, and likewise turns to ash. So that was Twig Blight 3. He's gone. And now we have... Oh, Twig Blight 2 is gone as well. I never deleted him. So now it is your turn.
Thank God. Alright.
Yeah, I know. There's so many people doing so many things.
Yeah, there are 17 total. I'm going to produce flame on Twig Blight 5. Oh yeah, I get to roll for that. What?
I was just gonna say you have Thunderclap as well, right?
Yeah, it's not in the book, so I don't actually know anything about it.
So, Thunderclap, you create a burst of thunderous sound. Each creature within range, other than you, must make a Constitution saving throw or take 1d6 thunder damage.
Okay, what's the range?
The range is 5 feet.
Okay. So, instead I'm gonna run over here. And I guess I'll thunderclap.
Okay.
Do I have to roll for this?
They have to roll a Constitution
Do
saving
we have to
throw.
roll? Like, do I have to roll to see if it even hits?
No, it just
Okay.
you create the sound to happen, and they have to roll on their Constitution. What is? Do you have your spell save DC?
Yeah. 14.
14. Okay. Go ahead and roll damage.
All right. That's what did you say? 1d8.
1d6.
1d6. That's this one. 6.
Wow, you rolled a 6. Okay. So as you come running up and you push past Core and shove yourself in between the dwarf and the commoner, trying to think of what would be a cool way to do this. All right, yeah. So you come running up, shove yourself between Core, the dwarf, and the commoner, and you stare these twig blights in the eye, and you just take your scimitar and you smack it against your wooden shield as hard as you can, and as a result, this thunderous sound wave comes echoing off of you right in front of you, and completely just disintegrates this guy.
All right. Yay.
However, this other guy, Twig Blight 5, made a saving throw.
Stupid Twig Blight 5.
All right. And so that'll bring us back up to the top. So this guy is going to try and attack him. That hits. 2. So the dwarf turns and watching you disintegrate one of them with this loud, thunderous clap that deafens everyone in the area, and kind of makes him flinch. He turns and just swings and smacks the twig blight in the side. Core is going to run up and also attempt to attack him with his... I'm running over my cord.
Yike.
With his longsword. And... I actually gotta find that. Where is this attack? All right. And completely misses. He comes running up to the side and swings with it and just barely misses. Just barely misses the twig blight. So guard number 3. Just going to come up behind it. And he hits. Rolls minimal damage. But it kills it.
Woo!
Turns around after the needle blight turns to ash, and just drives his sword straight through the back of the twig blight, lifting it up off the ground into the air as it turns to ash and falls off of his blade.
Boom.
Jeez. Dear God. I need some water real
Rolls though,
quick.
hun.
Oh. I've got to get some water, my goodness. All right. Yikes.
Yike.
All right. So that ends the combat. Good job.
Woo!
You didn't die.
Yay!
You learned very quickly to stay out of the range of everyone.
I mean, I can, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. I forgot that you had 8 hit points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
8.
8. Yikes.
You dealt 4, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, I think that was the max that it could deal too. Let me.
Oh, that's good. Okay, I didn't know that.
No, the max it can deal is 5.
Okay.
Jeez. All of those things, all of those things were ridiculous.
That was. It was a little sad having like 16 other things on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should have thought that one through a little bit more, but
You know what? It's okay.
when I brought out the rest of them, I was like, she might want some help with this, so maybe I'll bring in these other people. That's why initially I was like, I'm just gonna shove them off to the side.
No, it became necessary.
Yeah. All right. So now that the battle is over, the last twig blight turns to ash. Dren, who is almost dead. This guard here, the dwarf guard with the warhammer, is also almost dead. Like, jeez.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. So the dwarf guard turns to you, not sure like where you came from or how you came to be part of this endeavor, but kind of holds his warhammer at the ready. The first guard comes running up and points his crossbow at you, just skeptical. Halric here steps away. This guard kind of steps up as well and holds his sword at the ready. And then Kor here kind of like leans back a little bit, crosses his arm, and just kind of like looks up at you, and just kind of like he's trying to read you. Like you can tell that he's just kind of like looking you up and down, trying to read you.
What did you say the first guy was doing? Did you say he was raising his hammer at me?
Yeah, he was kind of like bringing it up at the ready, like as if he might need to use it again.
I'm gonna look at him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say, you're really gonna raise your hammer at me when I just saved your skins. Fair point!
It's a very fair point. That's why I like it.
Very fair point.
Very fair point. The dwarf, with like this like uncertain kind of angry scowl, warhammer raised, looks at you, and you see this slight little smirk bring up at the corner of his mouth, and he kind of lowers his hammer a little bit and kind of steps back some.
Thanks, dude.
Doesn't say anything, just kind of like nods, chuckles a little bit. Meanwhile, Kor, he looks at you and he says, "Aye, why did you save us? Where did you come from?"
I'm just walking along.
You just happen to be walking along
Yeah.
in the tree cover there, right near our camp, and just
Well, I
happen.
heard you play. And I came
Ah,
along to see who was playing.
I see. And so you decided to hide in the trees and spy on us?
I wouldn't necessarily say spying.
Ah, well, that's what I would call it in my trade. That is exactly what spies do. They hide and they listen.
To be fair, when he was attacked, I was gathering wood to give to you.
To give to us. Why would you want to give us wood?
I don't know who you are. Maybe you want to attack me.
Ah, you can never
Thought I'd
be
be friendly.
you can never be certain in these woods. With the goblin camps and the gnolls taking over, and then Lord even knows what these are. These weird twig constructs.
Sidebar, have I seen those things before?
Make a nature check.
Okay. Did I roll a d20?
Yep. And then I think it's intelligence.
I have a proficiency in nature.
All right, so it's whatever the modifier is plus your
9.
you rolled a 9 total.
Yeah.
You have not seen these before. You're not sure what they were or where they came from. All you know is that they were some twisted form of nature that just suddenly leapt out of the woods.
All right, cool. So where are you from?
Where are we from? I think I should be the one asking the questions here, lass. You just appeared out of the woods at the same time that these demented creatures, these constructs, attacked our camp and nearly killed us? What are you doing here? Why are you in these woods? Did you have anything to do with these monstrosities?
I can safely say I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Make a persuasion check.
Okay. There we go. 19.
Kor squints his eyes at you, strokes his goatee, and you can see now. Now that you, like, after the heat of battle, you've gotten a good look at him, and obviously he's a halfling. He's kind of darker skinned, tanned. He's got blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail. He's got very vivid, piercing green eyes, and he's got a mustache and a goatee. And he's also got this scar on his chin to the left of the goatee. But he kind of rubs his goatee and squints at you, and then just kind of nods. He says, "I believe you, lass. But again, why are you out here in the woods all by yourself? What could you possibly be doing wandering the woods?" I tell you what, tit for tat. You tell me, and I'll tell you.
Is there anywhere in particular I'm going? Or am I just going?
So, according to the vision that we decided on that you had,
Yeah.
which, if you want, actually, now would be a good time to describe your character, how she looks.
Yeah. Alright, so my character is an elf, first of all. She's about 5'2", 109 pounds, so small, thin, with copper skin and like a faded claw mark scar down her left arm, with dark brown hair pulled back into kind of a messy braid to keep it out of the way. Her eyes are green. Yeah. There you go.
So what we had kind of decided on was that your vision had taken you from your home island across the Terravel Sea onto the mainland of Sornel, which is the continent here. You saw it pass over the Arclucent Desert, which, as you discovered, has this beautiful iridescent glow to it at all times, during the day, during the night. It's always got this shimmer. This very strange shimmer. And you were only briefly there, but you just passed through it as you landed ashore. And then your vision took you through the forest, through the jungle, and then it was leading up into the mountains before you lost the vision. It was like leading past this giant chasm, this gaping maw in the earth.
Which chasm are we talking about here?
From the rough map that you were able to get before you left on your adventure, it is the chasm that almost divides the northeastern part of Sornel, just above the jungle. It's a giant fissure that split and created this huge crack in the earth.
All right. I was traveling up toward the mountains.
Any particular reason why you decided to travel alone, again, through dangerous woods, up through the mountains? It just seems so unbelievable to me.
I think I can fend for myself.
Aye, lass, that's evident. But alas, you didn't answer my question. Do you just remain silent?
Yeah.
All right. He kind of squints at you and then chuckles to himself. All right, fair's fair. I didn't tell you my side of the bargain. And he claps his hand and kind of rubs them together, and he says, well, firstly, I want to thank you for your assistance there. I don't know if we would have been nearly as well off without you. So, if you would accept my humble offer, join us for dinner tonight. And I will tell you all.
Okay.
All right. And he kind of motions to the guards to kind of calm down. Guard number 1 over there lowers his crossbow and just nods, and the dwarf there with the hammer puts the head of the hammer on the ground and just leans up against the pommel and just kind of chuckles to himself. And the human guard sheathes his sword and just kind of, looks around like, all right, I guess this is fine. Like he's skeptical, but he's all right. So let's see. Guard number 2 here walks over and has a seat. Basically, everyone kind of shifts over to the campfire. Guard number 1 is going to stand here and still keep watch, as is guard number 3. But guard number 2 there, the dwarf with the large brown beard, was very badly wounded, so he's going to have a seat, and Adare here is going to tend to his wounds. Halric as well, and Jesmir here is going to tend to his wounds. Oh, no, wait. No, Halric wasn't hurt. Drin was hurt.
Yeah, he was.
There we go.
What about this guy?
Yeah, actually, whoop. She's going to do headstand. She's going to entertain everyone.
Perfect.
Esmita here is going to tend to Dren's wounds. Alvar is just going to have a seat here on the ground next to the fire. Jesmir is going to tend to the food. Halric is going to go over here and have a seat behind Adare. There's Kor. And then Kor is going to motion for you to sit over here. All right. So the lot of you gather around the fire. You sit down. You see this other halfling, who is she's got long, wavy, kind of curly hair, loosely tied behind her shoulders, but for the most part it's pretty free. You can see it kind of like frazzled in some strands in front of her head, just kind of like blowing loosely in the wind. It's this gorgeous deep red. And she's got these deep brown eyes and lightly tanned skin, not quite as dark as Kor's, but still pretty tanned. And from what you've seen of her so far, she's pretty quiet. She likes to do a lot of watching, but she's just kind of tending to the food and listening to everyone talk, and just has this kind of like faint, worried but happy smile on her face, just like kind of concerned with everything that just happened, but feels a little bit safer now. Now that everything's been dealt with. And so Kor sits down with you, and everyone gets some food passed around. They hand you this bowl of stew, and a small piece of bread and some cheese to go with it. And he looks at you and said, all right, now it's my turn for the story. We haven't been formally introduced. I am Kor, and he very in a great flourish, bows before you and sweeps his arms out in a very big bow, a deep bow. And he stands back up and says, and you are?
Adrie.
Adrie. Ah, what a lovely name. I like it. Adrie, pleasure to meet you. Thank you again for your service. I would like to introduce you to my lovely wife over here. And he gestures toward the redhead halfling. And he introduces her as Jesmir, and she smiles and nods to you and just continues to work with the food. And he says, and then my traveling companions, we have some hired mercenaries here. Those would be the guards.
Is that what you call them?
Yeah. He introduces guard number 1 with the crossbow as Dargle. He introduces guard number 2 with the warhammer as Grom. And then guard number 1 over here. I almost called him Tim. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Beautiful.
I'm blanking on names. I need to get like a sheet that just has a list of names. We'll call him Jink. Jenk.
I like it.
All right. So he introduces you firstly to the guards that you all just fought Valiant next to. And then he starts introducing you to his traveling companions. He gestures toward Halric, the guy you saw get pulled into the bush. His wife, Adrie, who is currently dressing Grom's wounds. And then he gestures to Dren, who is one of the... he was the one that was tending to the horses when you first showed up. And he is the guy that basically like owns the horses and leases the wagons and that sort of thing. So he's kind of like the I don't know what the word for it would be.
The horse guy.
Yeah. He just
Stable master. I don't know what to call him.
Sure, he's basically like the stable master. And then he introduces Alvar and Esmita, who are brother and sister. And they are traveling along with him. And he then begins to tell you that they came from...
Sorry.
Good job.
I was trying to look at her name, but he was blocking the way and I accidentally clicked.
That's all right. He begins to tell you that they have traveled from the city of Kiral, which is on the western side of the continent. He tells you that he is a bard from the College of Melisirium. Just briefly mentions that that's where he studied and learned his trade. My mouth is so dry. I need more water. Literally out of water now. So he mentions that he studied at the College of Melisirium under the Bardic Arts, and was tasked by the college to make his way to Eldan, which is the other human kingdom just north of the Verdun jungle. He was tasked to head out there to play in an upcoming festival. It is going to be their summertime festival that they host every year. It's a citywide festival. They string up banners and lights, all sorts of shops, and people from all over come around. They have different bards and minstrels and wares, and it's so hard to talk now. All sorts of wares and people from all different walks of life coming by to celebrate in this festival. And that he was asked by the college to head out there and to spread basically spread the name of the Melisirium, because it's not widely known on this side of the continent, because it's founded in Ulterna. But he gathered the guards from the Mercenaries Guild, and then a bunch of his companions were... he's a caravaner. That's what the title is. Caravaner. That's what Dren is. Dren the Caravaner.
Okay.
He and his wife leased out the Caravaner, and it's the Caravaner's job basically to help provide safe passage from one destination to the other, and it just so happened that this time it was out of Kiral, across the continent up to Eldan.
All right.
Yeah.
Does anyone else talk?
He's just going on about his about their reason for being out there and where they're headed, and he kind of explains to you that they've traveled this path many times before, but they've never seen it so hostile. They've never seen creatures like this come out. He begins telling you that normally this path is very safe. The road that they've been traveling. That's Dren, by the way, talking, because he's traveled the path many times. So yes, Dren starts talking. And he begins to tell you, normally it's very safe. He's never seen creatures like this before, and he's traveled all across the lands. He's been to the swamps, he's been to the mountains, he's been through all the forests, through the jungles, across the desert, and he's never seen anything like this happen. He would call it almost like a freak of nature. And that normally the path is very safe, and he expresses his gratitude for your assistance in coming out here and helping dispatch of these creatures. And then you have Kor kind of pipe in and agree and say, without your help, they definitely would have been in a much rougher spot, especially with the other half that came up from behind them. And Grom over here starts talking about the battle and saying how much he enjoys the feeling of being in battle and crushing things beneath his maul. And you can hear Dargal kind of chuckle and call over his shoulder and tell Grom to to quiet down and not make battle seem so glorious, because it's very dangerous. And you can tell that they kind of have this relationship between each other.
Okay.
But otherwise, no one really pipes up. Kor's still kind of looking at you and smirking and trying to figure you out, just kind of reading you up and down. And eventually, if you don't have anything to say.
Is there anyone around who can heal me?
Is that what you ask?
Yeah.
Kor kind of smiles at you and says, "Why, lass, you seemed so tough. I thought you could fend for yourself."
I just blink at him.
He guffaws very loudly, just laughs very loud, and says, "Ah, I'm kidding, of course." And he stands up and approaches you. And he just kind of cautiously watches you to make sure that, you don't react in a bad way of any kind. Do you let him approach?
Yeah.
Okay. So he walks up and he says, "It would be an honor, my lass, to shake your hand." And he extends his hand to you.
Sure, we can do that.
All right. So you grab his hand?
Sure.
So as you shake hands, he also lightly bows forward, takes your hand, and kisses you on the hand. And as he does so, he casts healing cure wounds on you, which heals you for 7 hit points.
Okay, so back up. Yay. Thank you.
"It is my pleasure, my lady." And he, again, very, I guess flamboyantly, very, exaggerated, bows and steps backward, and then sits back on the log, and Jesmir comes over and sits next to him, and he puts his arm around her.
Aw, cute.
"So, lass, will you finally tell us what you're doing out here, all by yourself? I mean, obviously you said going up to the mountains, but why? What's in the mountains? What brings you all this way?"
I'm not quite sure what's going to be in the mountains, but I have a feeling it can't be good.
It can't be good. What are you talking about? You expecting, like, crazy creatures to jump forth from the crags up in the mountains as well?
If current experience shows anything.
He chuckles. I've never seen anything like it before. I've never heard of anything like it, but there's definitely been tension in the air. I can tell you that much.
Are visions a common thing in this world? Like, do I know this? I don't know.
Um, have you ever left your culture outside of the island in your 80 some odd years or whatever, or 100 some odd years that you are?
I mean, not extensively, but at some point.
At some point you've like visited other places?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, it's not something that you typically hear, the common folk talk about, but occasionally the religious zealot, you may have heard of it in your travels, or, doomsayers on the streets on occasion. But it's not something that, like, every person has every day.
Well, I mean, I figured that.
Yeah. Like, if you were to mention it, someone would probably look at you a little funny and, not be quite sure what to think. But it's not like they would be like, "Oh wow, this woman's insane. We need to stay away from her."
Okay.
Like not everyone.
That's what I was wondering.
Some people might be like, "Wow, this woman's insane," but it really just kind of depends on the type of person that you come up against.
All right, well, we're gonna go for it.
Oh,
Yeah, why not? I mean, I don't know what else to say.
all right.
I've received visions that are leading me toward the mountains.
Kind of looks at you and cocks an eyebrow and just kind of looks at you just a little funny and has this smirk that comes up at the corner of his mouth again, like this half grin, and he says, "Visions, you say? What are they of?" And he's obviously like intrigued. He's curious and he wants to know more.
I'm not entirely sure yet, but I have a feeling they can't be good.
Have you seen anything in them?
I mean, they are visions.
And he kind of laughs and hangs his head for a moment. He's like, "Well, clearly they are visions. But you are being quite ambiguous. You're avoiding the subject. You're quite a fine dancer, I might add."
Fair.
Well, I tell you what. Shall I propose a trade again? Information for information?
Propose what you will.
Would you like to know how I got this scar here on my chin?
Why not?
And you can see his face kind of brighten a little bit and a smile like fills his face. And you can see Jessamine just kind of hang her head into her hand, just kind of shake it slowly back and forth. And Cord jumps up. And he starts very loudly going, "Everyone gather around, I've got a story for you all to hear." And he said, "The story that you are about to bear witness to be told for generations to come. Now, never forget it, because this is very important. It is the story of myself, Kor himself, as he was born and raised and lived. But most importantly, of how he got this scar." And so he pulls out his lute and he starts strumming and he starts playing a little tune, a very calm one, a very serene one, just, nice and gentle. And he says, "I was born and raised in a town of Karg, off on the western side of the continent. Now you see, I wasn't always interested in the musical arts, but my father was a bard. He was a jovial man. He had so much joy in him. He loved to sing funny songs, to make people laugh. He would go to the tavern every night, and he would come home richer, both in spirit and in coin. He had a grand sense of humor. And oddly enough, that's actually how he met my mother. My mother was a barkeep, the one bar that he frequented often. and she was very charismatic and kind, but a little brash and forthright, which was just the type of man that he loved. And the moment he saw her, he knew that he loved her, and he had to be with her. So he kept going back every night, and he would come up with new jokes and new material and new songs to sing, just to see the smile creep across her face and brighten the bar. Now, you guys don't want to hear about my parents, you want to hear about me, he continues, and he starts to pick up the pace on the lute. You see, I was a very mischievous kid. I got into all sorts of trouble growing up. I would steal from stalls, and I would pick fights with other kids. Half my size, well, not half my size, double my size. As you can see, I'm very small. And my parents, they saw the mischief growing in me and just how much I loved to cause trouble and be a jokester. And they decided I needed some discipline. So my father, one day, smacked me upside the head with his lute and said, "Boy, you're gonna learn how to play this, and you're gonna play it well." And so at about 15 years of age, I started to learn to play the lute, and it helped me stay out of trouble, but only just so. Instead of getting into fights, I began serenading all the ladies that came on by. I would charm everyone in the bars, in the streets, in the churches, at the festivals, with my quick wit and my musical talent. Eventually, my parents sent me off to Melicerium, an institution in Alterna, the finest at that, a college built on history and lore, built on our world and what it means to be where we are. And while studying there, I came across my lovely Jesmir. Oh, I loved her so dearly. The second I saw her, I knew she was the one for me. I began to have a passion for history, and I would go into the library and spend my nights there. And that's where I found her. She was there, a scribe. She would copy down all the manuscripts. She would work tirelessly into the night, her hair hanging in her face as she pored over the manuscripts and the scrolls and the books, learning their history so that they were never forgotten, copying them down and making sure that history was never forgotten. And the more I watched her and the more I learned, the more I just wanted to get to know her history. So one day, I built up the courage and I asked her, go with me out to a bar. Let's get some drink. Let's get some food. Let's be jovial. Let's have fun. Let's make some history tonight." And she sheepishly smiled and said, "All right, Cor, let's do it." Now, Cor, being very charismatic, very easily won over Jesmir with that, with a flash of his smile and his very extravagant and exaggerated gestures as he bowed and offered her his hand. When he came to pick her up, he brought with him a bouquet of flowers almost as large as he was to give to her. And they went out that night to a bar, and they sat around this small table and drank and was merry, and they told stories. And then an orc walked in. And the orc, as he walked in past their table, spat at them and started making insults, laughing at their size, calling them half-pints, saying that there was no way they could ever hold their liquor. And so Cor, being the quick-witted, charismatic man that he is, very quickly turned to the orc and insulted him on his intelligence, which the orc only barely just got. He made sure to dumb it down a little for him. So the orc ran over and picked up Cor out of his chair and threatened to wring him between his hands. And Cor spat in his face, and the orc very quickly let go of him and began to wipe the spit out of his eyes. And Cor again began to insult him and, tell him never to pick him up again, never to touch him. That an orc of his filth doesn't even belong in the tavern. And so the orc leans over the table, grabs Jesmir by the collar, and picks her up off the floor and begins shaking her like a doll. And the orc turns to Kor and says, I am more powerful, more of a man, more of a being than you could ever be, and you should bow before me. And this halfling right here would make a great doll for my children, a great plaything for them to torture and cut up and carve. And Kor, obviously becoming very heated at this. I can't talk. Are you having fun?
Me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm very long-winded. I apologize.
It's okay. I've read this story before.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know.
You had me help you with this one and read it.
I didn't remember that. All right. But yeah. So Kor, being the very quick-witted and fleet-footed man that he is, pulled a dagger and jumped at the orc and cut him right behind the knee, hamstringing him, dropping the orc to his knees. And the orc tossed Jesmir to the floor and then grabbed a mug of ale off the table and threw it at Kor, knocking him flat. The orc stood up and hobbled over to Kor and attempted to stomp on him with his good leg. He lifted up, and then right as he was about to stomp down, Kor stabs him in the knee. And the orc fully fell to his knees, not able to stand. And orc stood up now that the Kor stood up now that the orc was down to his level, and looked at him in the face and said, "Now who's the wee one now, eh?" And then the orc grabbed him by the head and slammed him into the ground, just full on, like, hit his palm fully engulfed his head, and he just slammed him into the ground. And by this point, the town guard heard of the ruckus and came in and pulled the orc off of him, not before the orc had slammed him into the ground a few times, and that's how the scar formed on his chin there.
All right.
And he finishes it off by saying, "This scar here on my chin, it's like a medal. It is another way to mark history, to mark something important that happened. This scar will always remind me that no matter my stature, even giants can fall. Even the small can win." All right. So as he goes on about his story, and it's a very long-winded story. It's very embellished, and he as he's telling the story, during intense parts, he picks up the pace with his strumming, and then for the climactic parts, does a loud hard strum and stuff like that. Blech. I can't talk. I just can't talk. My throat is killing me now. But as he goes on, the fire starts to dim, and everyone starts to kind of like go off into their own tents, as Mita and what's his face, Alvar.
What's his face?
Yeah.
Are they sleeping?
Yep. And Halric and Adair, except they're going to be over here. Grom is going to sleep. He's just going to sleep over here by the fire. Dren is going to sleep in one of his carts. Perfect. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. He's sleeping now.
And these guys are just keeping watch. And finally, it's just Kor and Jesmir, and Jank and Dargal are... they're just keeping watch, not paying attention, just kind of making sure nothing else sneaks out at you guys. And so Kor finally finishes his story, and he turns to you and says, "So, lass, now that you've heard my story, let's hear yours." What's up in the mountains that you are so desperately wanting to get to? That you would travel alone in this dangerous world to get to? What are these visions about? I'm curious. You've really piqued my curiosity. It's not every day you come across a wood elf and hear of them having visions.
Sidebar, I really have no idea.
What the visions were of?
Yeah, you've described to me I'm flying over the desert, over this thing, and then there are mountains.
You can just be vague about it. Visions of like elemental uproar, natural
cool.
disasters, stuff happening that shouldn't be happening. Just like nothing that would be like, wow, something's really amiss here, but stuff that's like starting to be like something's starting to be amiss here.
Okay, cool. Because I haven't known how to answer the question. Literally, all we talked about was seeing the woods.
Yeah. Well, that's
Cool.
yeah. I was trying to get you to be like visions of like elemental disaster sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then you could even mention the vivid vision that you had before you came to their assistance.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I say that. Everything you just said.
And at any point, if you come up with like something that you want the visions to be about, like anything in particular, something like that, embellish it. Like, if you want to embellish a volcano erupting or like earthquakes happening or something like that, go for it.
Okay.
Elemental upheaval, you say? Complete disaster, natural disaster, strange things happening? And then that dream. You had a dream of vines pulling you into the forest and swallowing you whole. Well, I don't know about you, but that sounds like the vines that try to take Halric.
Yes, it does.
He kind of leans back, strokes his beard again, and kind of just stares at you, stares at you for a moment. And he then gestures toward you and motions for you to come closer.
I can come a little closer, sure.
All right. So you step a little bit closer to him, and he lowers his voice and he quietly whispers to you. It's really interesting that you would have visions of these things, because, and I'm going to share a secret with you. I feel like I can trust you. You saved my life. You don't seem to have any ulterior motives. Keep in mind, he's been trying to read you all night. He's been, like, reading your body language and your emotions and, like, everything on your face just to try and get a good read of you. So he feels at this point that he can probably trust you with a little bit of information, a little bit more information. And he leans in and he says, there have been whispers, rumors of a cult, a group, someone that is trying to conjure something or summon something. They're wanting to gain power. They're trying to change the world. You see, about 50 years ago, there was a great war that broke out against the two human kingdoms. The Mad King of Eldan went against what used to be his best friend, the King of Alterna. And a big war erupted over it, and it lasted for years, and it slowly found its way to the center of Sornel. And in a catastrophic turn of events, something happened. We're not quite sure what, but something happened. to drain the life energy, the natural energy, out of the world. And that's what formed the Arclucent Desert, which you said that you've seen briefly. And there have been rumors and whispers that someone is trying to start up the war again. And we're not sure if it's the king going back on his peace treaty, or if it's someone else trying to frame him, to usurp him, to try and take over. But you see, the college, the guild that I am a part of, they're very interested in the history. They are very interested in these rumors. So that's really why I'm out here. I'm heading up to the festival, not just to play, but to get to know people, to mingle, to gather some information, you see. But these visions you tell me of, they strike a chord with me. Ba-dum-bum.
Why are you like this?
You love it.
Fair.
And I know this might be bold to ask, but the people in this party, they don't know what I'm doing. They don't know why I'm here. However, it seems like our goals might be aligned. And I was wondering if you would care to join us. It would be much safer to travel in a group than it would be to travel alone. Jesmir and I will have your back. We'll look after you if you look after us. And perhaps, just perhaps, we'll come across the source of these visions, these strange notions that you have.
For now. I think that'll work.
And you see a big smile come across his face again, and he chuckles a little bit. And he extends his hand out again to you for a handshake.
Just for now. And I shake his hand.
And he smiles and grins and says, "Aye, for now. We'll see how long now happens to be." And he winks. And so he says, "It's a pleasure to know you, an honor to work and fight beside you, and I am looking forward to the days to come. I feel like I'll be a great asset for you, and you'll be a great asset for me. Until then, I think it's about time we all turned in and got some rest before the night's end."
Okay.
All right. So you all turn in. Throw them all over the place. So you all turn in, some of them pulling out sleeping bags to sleep around the fire, some of them sleeping in the tents.
I have a bedroll.
Yeah. And
Sleep on my bedroll.
when morning comes, everyone gathers together. There's no other events that happen, no surprises, no strange twig creatures coming out of the woodwork. Ba-dum-bum.
Good. Oh my god.
To attack you. So the caravan bands together, they hitch up the horses, they collect all their things, they put out the fires, and they start back off on the path again toward Eldon. And because my voice is killing me, and because I haven't prepared anything past this,
Yay!
I will call this the end for this session.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.